Okay, imagine this. You suddenly wake up, it's pitch black, and you find you can't move at all.
Right. That feeling of paralysis.
Yeah, terrifying. Then this bright, silent light just floods the room. And there are figures watching you, intense eyes, you
Right.
know.
The classic description.
Then next thing, maybe you feel like you're floating up, maybe out of your body, maybe even gone from the room entirely.
Alien abduction. Or is it something else? Like a journey of the soul.
Exactly. It's this question that just grabs you, doesn't it? It's fascinating, but also, frankly, pretty scary. It pushes right up against what we think reality is.
Definitely.
Watch this until the end because I think you will be surprised by how some of these ideas connect.
That whole scenario just plunges us straight into the mystery, the enigma of it all.
Yeah.
Alien abductions touch on so many, fundamental things about being human, our place in the cosmos, what consciousness even is, the limits of what we can perceive.
Totally. And, to help us kind of navigate this really mind-bending territory, we thought we'd bring in the perspective of Alan Watts.
Oh, Watts. Interesting choice.
Yeah, the philosopher who always urged us to, go with the flow of the universe, find comfort in not knowing everything. His ideas about surrender, they might actually be really relevant here.
Well, Watts' whole thing about surrendering the need for absolute control, that seems like a key starting point, doesn't it?
How so?
Because the abduction experience, as it's usually described, it's fundamentally about losing control, losing agency. That resonates directly with Watts' warnings about the ego wanting to manage everything.
It's just wild to think something like 4 million Americans, this was from a Roper poll back in '91, but still, 4 million reported these kinds of experiences.
That number is staggering.
And it's not just one type of story. You have the famous Betty and Barney Hill case from '61 right up to modern accounts, sometimes even groups of people experiencing something together.
Right, collective experiences.
Yeah, it spans decades, cultures,
Yeah.
often leaves behind, physical questions, vivid memories, and sometimes these huge shifts in how people see the world.
The sheer volume and those recurring details you mentioned across totally different people and places. It really suggests we're not just talking about random, isolated incidents.
So it points to something shared.
Potentially.
Yeah.
A shared human experience, maybe, that really demands a closer look.
But what is it? Fundamentally, are we talking actual aliens, actual spacecraft?
That's the million-dollar question.
Or could it be projections, our own minds tapping into something deeper? Or maybe it's this weird mix, physical and spiritual tangled up.
Those are exactly the critical questions. Is it external, internal, or some complex interaction we don't understand yet?
The not knowing is what makes it so gripping, I think.
Absolutely. The lack of a definitive answer is precisely why it's so compelling and why there are so many different ways to try and understand it.
Yeah, and then you get figures like John Mack, Harvard psychiatrist, right, risked his whole reputation studying hundreds of these people, these abductees.
Mack is a crucial figure here.
And his conclusion, he basically said, look, these aren't just dreams or hallucinations. They have real weight, cosmic, maybe even spiritual significance.
Yeah, Mack's work was kind of revolutionary because he came at it with that rigorous scientific background. But he stayed open to things beyond the usual explanations, recognizing that spiritual reality, as he called it. That was a direct challenge to the mainstream skepticism.
Which sort of brings us back to Alan Watts and that amazing quote, "I don't know is the same thing as I love." It's about accepting mystery, right? Maybe that's the key here. Embracing the not knowing.
That quote perfectly captures it, I think. Admitting we don't have all the answers can actually open us up to a deeper connection, maybe even appreciation of the unknown itself.
So it's not about finding proof.
Maybe not just about finding proof. For Watts, maybe searching for the definitive answer isn't as useful as just embracing the mystery inherent in the experience.
Okay, so in this deep dive, we're going to use Watts as a kind of guide. We'll explore these abduction stories, but also connect them to things like out-of-body experiences, shamanic traditions, and John Mack's research.
Bringing those different lenses together, the personal stories, the cultural echoes, the scientific questions, should give us a richer, more, multifaceted picture.
Could these encounters be spiritual awakenings, actual physical contacts, or both somehow flowing together in what Watts called the great Tao, that sort of fundamental current of everything?
That's the big question we're circling around.
Spiritual journey, physical contact, or both? Stick with us, because near the end, we've got that surprise connection how Watt's philosophy might actually help tie some of these science and mystery threads together.
Sounds intriguing.
Plus, we've got a challenge for you, the listener, an invitation to kind of explore your own connection to this whole cosmic puzzle.
That convergence of perspectives, personal, physical, spiritual, makes it a really potent topic for a deep dive.
Now, let's get a bit deeper into Alan Watts himself. He wasn't just like a dry academic. He was this amazing bridge, right? Bringing Taoism, Zen mysticism into terms Westerners could grasp.
Yeah, he had a real knack for making those complex Eastern ideas feel accessible and relevant.
He offered this way to navigate life's uncertainties with, I don't know, a sense of ease and trust. And one of his core ideas was, the more you give it away, the more it comes back. What's that about?
It's about reciprocity, interconnectedness. It's central to a lot of Eastern thought. Watts just framed it beautifully, this dynamic flow of energy, of experience. Giving and receiving aren't separate. They're part of one cycle.
And his whole philosophy seems built on trusting that natural flow. He told that story, didn't he, about the balsa wood raft?
Their raft story.
By just surrendering to the river, the traveler gets unexpected help. So could alien abductions, which are so disorienting, so out of control, could they be a weird kind of act of faith?
That's an interesting angle, forced surrender.
Yeah, moments where you have to let go of control and face something totally unknown.
The raft analogy really works there. Letting go of the need to steer might mean you get carried in ways you couldn't predict, maybe even find support you didn't expect.
Watts also believed that trying to control everything, like that overworked guy in his parable, drowning in choices, just leads to anxiety, feeling separate.
Right, the constant striving.
So instead, he pushed for surrender. He
Yeah.
said the principle is that anytime you voluntarily let up control, you have an access of power.
Which really cuts against our usual Western focus on control and mastery, doesn't it?
Totally. So are these abduction experiences maybe an unwelcome invitation to that exact kind of surrender?
The powerlessness involved certainly forces you to confront the limits of your own agency.
Yeah.
Watts would find that significant.
Right. And you can almost hear Watts chuckling with that mix of humor and mysticism, saying, okay, let's see what you're going to do now. Just trusting the universe's plan, even when it seems completely nuts.
That playful acceptance of the weirdness is classic Watts. Trusting the cosmic intelligence, even when things feel chaotic.
And his idea of unity is huge here, too. He wrote, the more you trust it as another, the more you realize the inseparable identity of self and other.
Non-duality.
Could these abductions, encounters with the other, whether it's aliens or something else, could they actually be reflecting that unity back at us? Like cosmic mirrors?
Applying non-duality there is fascinating. It suggests these encounters might reveal something fundamental about our connection to the universe and, well, to ourselves.
It really reframes the whole thing, doesn't it? Maybe not invasions, but cosmic connections,
Right.
Spiritual connections, echoing things like OBEs or shamanic journeys.
Exactly. Shifting from conflict to connection opens up a whole new range of interpretations, deeper implications.
Okay, so this fascination people have with alien abductions, it's clearly more than just like a casual interest, right?
Oh, absolutely. It taps into deep human questions. Are we alone? What's our place in this huge universe?
And the reports really picked up steam in the 60s, and now it's everywhere in pop culture. X-Files, Close Encounters.
Yeah, pop culture both reflects and shapes how we think about it, how we imagine these encounters.
But it's way beyond Hollywood. You've got cases like Antonio Villas-Boas in Brazil way back in '57, or the Ariel School incident in South Africa in 1994.
And the striking thing is the recurring elements.
Right. Strange lights, paralysis, some kind of examination, and this feeling afterwards, like a sense of purpose.
That consistency across different times and places is key. It suggests some kind of underlying pattern.
And then you get the really puzzling bits. Physical marks, some people report, like scars or alleged implants. Plus these huge internal shifts, more spiritual awareness, feeling connected to nature, a sense of mission.
Those after effects are really significant. Whatever the origin, these experiences can clearly have a profound, lasting impact. Life-changing for many.
Which loops us back to John Mack and his book Abduction. He argued these weren't just in people's heads. They had a real psychological and spiritual reality.
Yeah, insisting on that spiritual reality was controversial, but crucial. It challenged the purely materialistic way these things were often dismissed.
But here's the core puzzle, maybe. If there is physical evidence, like implants, why do so many people also describe the encounters as feeling dreamlike?
That's the heart of it. How do you reconcile the physical claims with the often subjective, sort of ethereal quality of the experience.
Mm.
It hints at a reality maybe operating outside our usual space-time rules.
It makes you think of Watts saying the universe is an endless mystery to itself. Maybe abductions aren't about proof, but about encountering something fundamentally beyond our grasp right now.
Watt's view encourages that embrace of mystery. Maybe the point isn't the answer, but the experience of engaging with the unknown, the transformation that follows.
Could they be a bridge between physical and spiritual? Kind of like Watt's idea of synergy, everything cooperated with him because he flowed with the course of nature.
The idea of a bridge between material and non-material, that echoes a lot of mystical traditions, doesn't it? A deeper interconnectedness.
And that's exactly what we try to explore here on the Quantum Soul, that intersection. Science, spirituality, mystery, and alien abductions. They seem like the perfect, if confusing, topic for it.
Right. Abductions sit right at that nexus, forcing us to look from multiple angles.
Okay, halfway through, I want to give you some good news. If you're finding this deep dive interesting, do us a quick favor and leave a comment below. Why? Because when you do, YouTube's algorithm gets a better sense of what you like, and it'll start recommending more videos like this one to you. It's a great way to find more content you'll enjoy. And hey, while you're down there, hit subscribe and maybe share this video with someone else who might find it fascinating. It really helps us out.
Yeah, that engagement makes a huge difference for creators and helps you tailor your feed. Okay, back to our approach.
Right, so our approach is basically threefold. We look at the science, Mack studies, the implant analysis controversy, even theories about higher dimensions.
Okay, the scientific angle.
Then the spiritual side, guided by Watt's trust, surrender.
The philosophical lens.
And finally, just wrestling with the mystery itself. Are they ETs? Other dimensions? Projections of consciousness? We don't know.
That multi-layered approach, rigor plus open-mindedness, seems essential for this topic.
So our journey is look at the key stories and evidence, dive into Watts on the unknown, compare it to OBEs and shamanism, touch on the skepticism, and then try to pull it together through Watts' spiritual journeys, physical reality, or something else.
Navigating all that should lead to a more nuanced appreciation, hopefully.
And remember that surprise. We're getting closer to revealing how Watts' thinking might just weave these threads together: science, mystery, the whole cosmic tapestry, plus that challenge for you at the end.
That promise of synthesis and the call for personal reflection really deepens the engagement, I think.
So here's that first invitation again. Have you ever had an experience that just didn't fit? A super vivid dream, a flash of intuition, an unexplained sighting?
Something that defied easy explanation.
Yeah. Go down to the comments right now and share it. An OBE, a weird encounter, just your thoughts on the universe's mysteries. This is step one of the challenge we'll wrap up with.
Sharing those personal stories is so valuable. It builds community, allows for collective exploration of these often weird parts of being human.
Get ready. We're about to dive even deeper into this flow of mystery with Alan Watts as our guide. Let's see what the cosmos might be showing us.
Let's do it.
The night sky. It's always been a source of wonder, but also, a bit of fear. And for some people, it becomes the stage for these experiences that just break all the rules of logic.
Unexplained lights, paralysis, feeling taken.
Yeah, alien abductions, millions reporting them worldwide. It's one of the biggest, most persistent enigmas of our time.
The sheer number and persistence,
Yeah.
it forces you to take it seriously, even if you don't know what it is.
So, are they real encounters with ETs? Are they deep dives into our own consciousness? Or, like Alan Watts might ask, is it some kind of cosmic dance? An invitation to trust the mystery?
Watt's view offers that refreshing alternative, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Beyond just physical or psychological. His focus on interconnectedness, embracing the unknown. It's a useful framework.
Before we go full Watts, though, we need to ground ourselves in the phenomenon itself. The stories, the evidence, or lack thereof, the questions that just won't go away.
Absolutely. Understanding the core elements, the patterns, the evidence, debates, the persisting questions is crucial before we try to interpret it philosophically.
What is it about these things that makes them feel so real, so universal to those who experience them, yet so hard to explain with our current science or culture?
That tension is key, isn't it? The subjective certainty versus the lack of objective proof. It challenges our basic assumptions about reality, about what we can know.
Okay, get ready. We're going from the early accounts through John Mack's science, all while keeping that Wattsian spirit of embracing the mystery alive.
That journey through history and science provides the foundation we need for Watt's more philosophical take.
These abduction stories, they aren't just sci-fi plots. They make up this complex, often disturbing pattern of testimonies from all over the world.
That's crucial. The consistency across cultures suggests we might be dealing with something deeper than just, say, American pop culture influence.
Look at Betty and Barney Hill, 1961. Late night drive, weird light, missing time. Then, under hypnosis, these detailed memories of being on a craft examined by Greys.
The classic abduction narrative really solidified with the Hills.
And Betty's star map, later linked remarkably to Zeta Reticuli. That case just became the cornerstone.
It definitely brought abduction into the public consciousness in a huge way, established those recurring themes.
Then there's Travis Walton, 75, Arizona. Logging crew sees a UFO, bright light. Walton vanishes for 5 days.
And his crewmates pass lie detector tests about it.
Right. He reappears confused with memories of beings, a craft. And interestingly, he felt this sense of connection, like they had a mission.
The Walton case is compelling because of the multiple witnesses and the polygraphs. It suggests something external happened. And his feeling of connection adds complexity.
And it's global. Antonio Villas-Boas, Brazil, 57 humanoids, ship, exams, even a sexual encounter, physical marks later. Kelly Cahill, Australia, 93, multiple witnesses again. Lights, paralysis, missing time, tall, thin beings.
These accounts from different continents show the recurring patterns, suggesting it's not just a US or Western thing.
It really does make you wonder if there's some universal phenomenon underneath it all.
The consistency of core elements in such different cases. It strongly suggests something fundamental is happening, even if we argue about what it is.
And how would Watts look at this? Purely physical, or maybe the universe going, okay, here's something weird, let's see what you do.
Watts would push us beyond the literal, wouldn't he? Look at the transformative potential, the invitation to surrender and trust, even when it's terrifying.
Okay, let's shift to the science, specifically John Mack's work.
Mack. Yeah, he provided that vital, though controversial, link between the stories and serious academic study.
Highly respected Harvard psychiatry professor, spent years in the 80s and 90s interviewing over 200 abductees, people from all backgrounds.
His credentials gave his work weight. His willingness to take these accounts seriously, that really challenged the scientific mainstream's skepticism.
His book Abduction in '94 laid it all out. The incredible consistency in stories about the beings, the ships, the procedures from people who'd never met.
That consistency across unrelated people was one of his strongest arguments against it all being just, individual fantasy or mental illness.
And Mack's conclusion after all that research, these weren't just hallucinations. They had a real profound psychological and spiritual dimension.
That conclusion, emphasizing the spiritual reality, was radical. It suggested these encounters deeply affected people's inner lives, their whole worldview.
He also saw these amazing transformations afterwards in many people. Increased environmental awareness, feeling connected to the cosmos, a sense of a bigger plan unfolding.
Those transformations are key. They suggest that, whatever the cause, the experiences can trigger profound shifts in consciousness, aligning with some of Watts' ideas about interconnection and cosmic order.
It almost makes you think of Watts on synergy, the intelligence of a highly complex system. Maybe abductions tap into that interconnectedness beyond just material reality.
Synergy, the whole being greater than the sum of its parts.
Yeah.
That could be a useful way to think about how the physical and spiritual aspects might be woven together in these experiences.
Now, Mack definitely took a lot of heat from colleagues for this.
Oh, absolutely. Huge controversy.
But he stood his ground, defending the need for science to investigate the inexplicable, not just dismiss it.
His courage in challenging the paradigms was significant. He argued science shouldn't ignore things just because they don't fit current models.
So Mack's work leaves us with this big question. If abductions have a spiritual reality, how do you account for the claims of physical evidence?
Right. The scars, the implants.
And how would Alan Watts interpret that fusion? Especially with his idea that the more you give it away, the more it comes back.
That's the core challenge. Reconciling the subjective, spiritual side with the objective, physical claims. Watts' non-duality might offer a bridge.
Okay, let's look closer at that alleged evidence itself, the stuff that makes it intriguing, hard to just brush off.
Approaching the physical evidence requires balance, acknowledging the reports but demanding rigorous scrutiny.
Because, yeah, it goes beyond just what people say they experience. There are these recurring claims of tangible stuff.
Right. The alleged physical evidence adds that extra layer, directly challenging purely psychological explanations.
Like the physical marks. People reporting weird scars, burns, geometric patterns after an encounter with no normal explanation, sometimes in places they couldn't reach themselves.
Unexplained marks are a common theme. The location aspect does raise questions.
Then the really controversial bit. The alleged implants. Small metallic objects removed from bodies. Sometimes analyses suggest weird stuff, non-terrestrial isotopes, radio emissions.
Implants are hugely controversial. Some analyses are suggestive, yes, but they're often met with intense skepticism, alternative explanations. Needs much more solid research.
But you also have those multiple witness cases, Walton Cahill, where corroboration seems to support some kind of external event happening.
Multiple independent eyewitnesses are significant. They offer corroboration beyond just one person's subjective account.
Okay, but we absolutely have to look at the skeptical view too. Science offers alternative explanations.
Essential for balance. We need to consider the mainstream scientific perspectives.
Top of the list. Sleep paralysis. You wake up, can't move, have vivid hallucinations, shadow figures floating. You can see the overlap with abduction accounts, right?
The overlap is striking, yeah. It's a major area of debate and research. How much can sleep paralysis explain?
Then there's cultural suggestion. Sci-fi, the gray alien image everywhere. Could the media be planting ideas, leading people to construct false memories or interpret weird experiences through that lens?
The power of suggestion is real. Pop culture definitely disseminates these archetypes. It could influence how people interpret ambiguous events.
And hypnosis. Sometimes used in these investigations, but research like Elizabeth Loftus's shows it can create or distort memories. Suggestibility is a factor.
Loftus's work on false memories is crucial here, especially given the use of regression hypnosis in some cases.
Plus, maybe things like dissociative disorders, past trauma. Could those play a role for some people?
Psychological factors could contribute in certain cases, yeah. Maybe shaping narratives as a way to process difficult things.
But Mack pushed back on a lot of this. He pointed out many abductees had no history of mental illness. Memories often came spontaneously, not just under hypnosis.
Right.
And he'd bring up the multiple witness cases, the physical evidence claims, things purely psychological theories struggle to explain fully.
Mack argued that while psychological factors might be involved sometimes, they didn't explain the consistency, the detail, the witnesses, or the physical claims in many cases.
It really highlights the complexity, and it almost brings you back to Watts talking about how much data, how many interpretations exist for anything.
Watts reminds us our understanding is always limited. We rely on patterns, intuition, not just pure logic.
He saw science as a map, right? Valuable, but not the whole territory, not the total mystery.
Exactly. Science is a powerful method for the material world, but he warned against reducing everything to it. Subjective experience, intuition, they matter too.
So what would Watts ask about the physical evidence versus the skepticism? Would he see implants as proof of spaceships? Or maybe signs of a universe that cooperated because he flowed with the course of nature? Something weirder.
Watts would likely urge us to consider meanings beyond our current science. Maybe the evidence connects to that deeper cosmic interconnectedness, the universe communicating in ways we don't grasp.
It's also really key to remember this isn't just a Western thing. These reports pop up in diverse cultures.
Crucial point. Looking globally helps see if it's truly universal or mostly shaped by Western culture.
You have cases like Varginha in Brazil, 96 lots of sightings, reports of captured beings, and Ariel School, Zimbabwe, 94 over 60 kids reporting a craft, beings talking telepathically about saving the environment. Their stories were incredibly consistent, even when interviewed separately.
Varginha and Ariel School are compelling because of the sheer number of witnesses, especially the kids at Ariel. That environmental message is also a recurring theme in some accounts.
Now, formal abduction reports might be less common in parts of Asia, but it's interesting. Traditional myths often describe encounters with sky beings, spirit travel, stuff that echoes modern abduction elements, like Tibetan astral travel or Japanese kami spirits.
The presence of similar themes, contact with non-human entities, travel to other realms across different traditions, even if framed differently, suggests maybe a fundamental human archetype or experience is being interpreted through local beliefs.
So maybe these cultural parallels point to some universal human experience, just expressed through different cultural lenses.
That's a fascinating idea. That the core phenomenon might tap into something deep in the human psyche, our collective experience of the unknown, that transcends specific cultures.
And you think about Watts saying the great Tao flows everywhere. Maybe he'd see all these stories, modern abductions, ancient myths, as just different expressions of the same underlying cosmic truth.
Watts' idea of the Tao as a unifying principle could definitely provide a framework for understanding the common threads running through these diverse accounts across time and space.
What's striking is how often you hear unifying elements globally. feeling chosen, being examined, feeling profoundly changed by it all.
Those recurring themes, chosen, examined, transformed, are significant motifs worldwide. They point to the potentially life-altering nature of these encounters.
And that connects back to Mack's observation of a perceived purpose, evolutionary, spiritual, ecological.
The idea of a purpose aligns with Mack, and also resonates with Watt's view of an intelligent, interconnected universe.
It almost feels like Watt's concept of synergy, the universe as this smart system delegating authority, orchestrating things, could be a way to think about these seemingly orchestrated encounters.
Delegated authority within a synergistic system. That's an intriguing lens for viewing the potential role of these encounters in some larger cosmic process we don't fully get.
So how do we interpret this puzzle? The physical evidence claims mixed with these deep, personal, spiritual transformations reported everywhere.
That remains the core challenge, integrating the material and the non-material into a coherent understanding.
Okay, let's turn now to Watts's philosophy of surrender. Could that be a key to unlocking some of this mystery, to understanding what these encounters might be trying to teach us?
Watts's emphasis on surrender, trust in the flow. That could indeed offer a valuable philosophical lens for interpreting the disorienting, enigmatic nature of these experiences.
So we've journeyed through these unsettling abduction accounts. The science, the spiritual hints, really grappled with the enduring mystery.
It's been a fascinating trip looking at the history, the science, the persistent questions that make it so compelling.
We've touched on the alleged physical evidence, the parallels with mystical experiences, even how modern physics might intersect.
Examining all those facets gives us a better sense of the sheer complexity and nuance here.
And now let's really bring it back to Alan Watts' core idea. Trusting that cosmic flow. The more you give it away, the more it comes back. And that fundamental question, spiritual journeys or physical reality?
Watts' emphasis on interconnectedness, on the limits of ego control, it challenges that simple binary, suggests a more integrated view.
Ultimately, Watts' perspective seems to suggest these experiences, whatever they are, could be moments of profound cosmic unity, reflections of that inseparable identity of self and other, an invitation to let go of control, maybe even join the universe's mysterious dance.
That idea of cosmic unity, blurring the lines between self and other, it's a powerful philosophical frame for the disorienting, transformative aspects of abduction.
Let's quickly recap Watts' key ideas we touched on. Trusting the flow, non-knowing as wisdom, unity, and synergy, and how relevant that all feels to our modern anxiety about control.
Watts' philosophy is such a good counterpoint to our constant striving for certainty and control. Acceptance, flow, interconnectedness, it's a different way to engage with uncertainty and mystery.
We also compared abductions to things like OBE's consciousness seeming to leave the body and shamanic traditions accessing other worlds. They all share that element of transcending everyday reality, encountering the unknown, leading to big personal change.
The parallels with OBEs and shamanism are compelling. They suggest abductions might tap into fundamental aspects of consciousness, our potential for experiences beyond the material.
And John Mack's findings, again, how abductees often underwent transformations similar to spiritual initiations.
Mack's observations on the transformative impact really support the idea that these experiences hold deep psychological or spiritual significance.
We even mentioned practices like meditation, lucid dreaming, ways people consciously explore altered states, which might offer clues about the subjective nature of abduction reports.
Those practices show our capacity to navigate altered states, which helps in understanding the dreamlike, subjective qualities often described.
Now, on the science side, we revisited the physical evidence claims, scars, implants, witnesses, versus the skeptical explanations, sleep paralysis, cultural suggestion, hypnosis effects.
Important to keep both sides in view, the persistent claims and the reasoned scientific alternatives.
And this is where Watts's view of science, valuable map, not the whole territory, really hits home. Especially when you think about speculative physics, like higher dimensions or weird propulsion.
Watts encourages appreciating science's power while recognizing its limits, especially with phenomena potentially outside current paradigms.
Ultimately, Watts' core idea of overcoming duality, physical and spiritual, maybe not being separate, but different labels for the same reality helps pull it together. Maybe abductions are these complex, synergistic events with both dimensions woven in.
That non-duality lens is powerful for considering how seemingly contradictory aspects might coexist within a larger holistic reality.
So drawing on Watts, maybe we can see abductions as moments of cosmic unity, reflections of self and other, Maybe even a mechanism for human evolution through synergy, through the universe delegating experience.
Watt's interpretation reframes them, not just threats or delusions, but potentially meaningful, transformative encounters contributing to our evolving understanding of ourselves and the cosmos.
And this perspective really highlights embracing mystery as a guide, not always needing the final, absolute answer.
Watt's embrace of mystery encourages staying open to possibilities beyond our current grasp, finding value in the questioning itself.
For Alan Watts, it seems alien abductions could be both deep spiritual journeys and potentially real physical events, all flowing together in that mysterious current of the Tao.
His holistic view allows for multiple layers of reality and meaning, transcending simple either explanations, inviting a more nuanced understanding.
Okay, so if you found this deep dive into alien abductions and Alan Watts' wisdom thought-provoking, please pause for a sec and leave a comment below. Seriously, it helps YouTube figure out what you like and recommend more cool stuff like this to you.
It really does make a difference.
And while you're down there, hit subscribe to The Quantum Soul and maybe share this video with a friend who digs this kind of stuff.
Your engagement and support mean a lot. It helps us keep exploring these fascinating, often perplexing topics.
And now, for that community challenge, we genuinely want to hear from you. Share your own experiences with the unknown in the comments. Had an OBE, a super real dream, unexplained sighting, cosmic intuition moment?
Or just your thoughts on alien abductions.
Yeah. What do you think? This is our community space to explore together, inspired by Watt's idea of giving back, sharing experiences.
Sharing insights creates this valuable collective learning space, deepens our connection around these mysteries of being human.
Let's keep reflecting together. What might the universe be trying to show us? Definitely check out what others share in the comments too. You never know what connections might spark.
Engaging with diverse perspectives broadens our own understanding, reveals unexpected patterns.
Looking ahead here on The Quantum Soul, we've got some really cool deep dives coming up. We're planning to explore Alan Watts and OBEs more closely, and also look into modern shamanism.
Eager to continue this journey into the frontiers of science, spirituality, and mystery in future explorations.
So make sure you subscribe, stay updated on our explorations into these fascinating intersections of science, spirit, and the mysteries that keep us asking questions.
Subscribing ensures you won't miss out on those upcoming deep dives.
Because, as Alan Watts reminded us, the universe is an endless mystery to itself. And maybe these extraordinary abduction accounts are just powerful reminders of that humbling truth.
Embracing that wonder, that inherent mystery, can lead to a richer understanding of ourselves and our place in it all.
So for now, keep flowing, keep trusting the unknown, and never stop exploring. And right here on your screen, you should see 2 more videos pop up. We think you'll find them just as interesting. Click on one that grabs you and continue your journey with the deep dive.
Yeah, pick the one that resonates most with your curiosity and keep exploring.